You know, just other people were in the Oxford Union Garden, including the physicist Michio Kaku, the string theorist of all people, and nobody could see us. You know, well, I asked later why my friend ignored me, and it was because he couldn't actually see me. I was actually in. No, I was actually in his face, going hello, hello, and nobody could see us. And so we're having this experience, and what that led us to is it brought us together, and it actually led to these amazing conferences. We were really the first in the world in the UK to do conferences on indigo and crystal children and that whole phenomena, and it was a huge success.
So why do you think that they couldn't see you? Was it because the angel brought you into his space rather?
Yeah, I think there was a totally, you know, different frequency. I mean, this angel was absolutely massive. I'm not kidding. It went up to the clouds. It looked like a big stone statue, but strangely enough, the arms were where you'd expect a 10-foot person to be. So I was thinking, I'm not seeing this angel properly. I'm 2-3 dimensional in my thinking to actually visualize this angel properly. And it's just another example how the angels are actually in really, really high dimensions. And in high dimensions, the world doesn't work the same way as it does here. So I could only interpret the angel with its head right up in the clouds, with its arms down here. But, you know, it doesn't really look like that. It's just my interpretation because I can't visualize it any other way.
And it happened with your friend as well? So your friend had the same experience at the same time?
Yeah, she was feeling the hin on the back of the head, I'll tell you.
Did she see the angel though as well?
She didn't actually see, but she felt. And ever since then, when we needed guidance of how to do this conference, they'd come in and hit us over the back of the head when we're on the phone to each other. So,
That's amazing.
So we know we're on the right path. And you know, the way the conference together, we got sponsorship, we got all this amazing stuff. It just came together effortlessly. So they really did help us out there.
That's great. Let's see another clip from the Wim Wenders films where angels visit a library, and in this clip they appear in human form without wings.
Vielen Gleichungen kann man zusammenfassen zu einer Einheit. Der Vorteil dieses Vorteils besteht darin, dass jetzt alle Gleichungen der Form x durch ax plus b sozusagen einmal eine Lösung angegeben werden kann. Falls überhaupt ein existiert, etwa minusartig 2 plus Wurzel aus a Quadrat durch 4 minus b. So einfach ist das.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ. והארץ הייתה תוהו ובוהו.
Will ich mit dem Engel reden, ob er meine Augen anerkennt. Wenn er plötzlich fragte, schaust du Eden? Und ich müsste sagen,
Cassia,
Eden brennt.
the angel of solitude and tears, who shows forth the unity of the kingdom.
Erschienen, zerstochen,
Also feeling praise
So we can see the angels in that clip appear as in human form to help people. And Diana, I read also, I've got a report here of a woman actually who was in Regent's Park, and she said that she had damaged her ankle and she didn't have any strength to go home, and she's thinking, how am I going to go home? And she said she saw a tiny man in green who appeared and said, go home, we promise your foot won't pain you tonight. And she was able to walk home after that, and her foot didn't hurt after that. So that shows again sort of an angel possibly appearing as a tiny little person.
An angel or an elemental. They come in all sorts of forms, and they're always helping us. I know somebody who was in desperate grief after the death of her husband, and that night she asked the angels to help her, and she woke to hear this celestial singing over her bed, and all the pain got lifted away. We have to ask, and they will help us.
And how do we know, again, when we've had an encounter? I mean, we might not see an angel as clearly as you've seen. How might people know? How might we pick up if we've had an encounter?
Sense of love and peace.
That sense of love and peace.
Just what you were saying, Tony.
Yeah. I mean, I sit here as one who would say I've never seen an angel, but I've felt that presence of love created in my heart, which indicates to me that sense of the presence of God's ministering of angels, which I feel is always happening everywhere for everyone. It's a bit like the sun's always shining. You've got to lift your head above the clouds to feel the sunlight. And it's the same with that. There's no one on this planet who's denied that help from the Divine Spirit, God, at any moment. But we have to support and love each other in really opening our thoughts and hearts to recognizing the presence of that ministration from God.
And how would you say, Tony, that angels can affect our lives as well?
Oh, absolutely everything. Absolutely everything, and for the better. I mean, I couldn't imagine a day going by without relying on that communication from God to me, to guide me, to protect me, to show me the way. And certainly among my fellow Christian scientists, there are wonderful stories of people just sort of being woken in the middle of the night and just feeling a real sense of the urgent need to pray for a particular individual without any sense of knowing why. And they pray and they turn to God and they feel that sense of conscious peace that all is well, which is, to me, part of what the promise of Christianity is through the example of Jesus. All can be well because God takes us through the suffering to healing. And then they hear back, maybe a week later, maybe a year later, but they recognize that at a time they were urged to pray in that way, that that individual was protected, sometimes in a war zone, sometimes in an experience. One particular, very quickly, one experience, it was a friend of mine who had exactly that. She woke up in the middle of the night, felt an urgent need to pray for her son. And it turned out at that very moment her son had arrived in a strange country and hadn't been met by the people who were meant to meet him. I mean, a strange country was Spain. It's not strange to the Spanish, but, you know, coming from England, it was a strange country. And he was there on his own, absolutely without protection. He was only about 11 or 12 at the time. The reason he was sent was because there was meant to be a camp counselor meeting him. He'd won a prize. This was meant to be a treat. And at that moment, she got up, she prayed, and later she learned what had happened. And a Spanish man who couldn't even speak English, recognized the need and came over to this young child and looked at what he was carrying, the form about the camp or whatever, rang the camp, told them about the child. They couldn't get there. The man took the child home to his family, kept him safe overnight, and then delivered him to the camp the next day. You know, and that sense of a trustworthy, secure protection that's really there for every one of us. And, you know, we have to become more aware of it, obviously, but it's there for every one of us.
And also, it sounds like, as you say, Christian scientists, you're involved in healing, so you're also being used as a sort of instrument, or angels are sort of I would say operating through you, as Diana said.
Yeah, I would say a witness. I mean, to me, God's always the healer, but I can be a witness of that healing love, and certainly to that degree, I will reflect it, as again, any one of us can. But it always comes back to me, to the source of that love.
I think your story is wonderful, and especially as it reminds us that there are so many good people in the world.
Yes.
And I would say it slightly differently in that, as I understand it, we're needed to act as bridges for the angels. So the angels need us to do the praying or asking or whatever the terminology is, so that they can then use our thoughts to go to the other person and help them.
I wouldn't disagree with that. I think we bring our... That's right. I mean, I as a practitioner need to open my consciousness to that communication from God that is needed to bring the healing to that case.
That might also explain why, again, in the monotheistic religions, the angels have come to the messengers, and then the messengers have come to the prophets, and the prophets have come to mankind. So
yeah, well, we do need the individuality of everyone to express this love, and certainly, you know, all the great prophets, whether it be the ancient prophets before Jesus or people who've come afterwards with that great spiritual commitment and insight. We need the individuality of everyone to express that love, because God needs the expression, and we're all part of that.
And I think you brought up the power of prayer, which is very, very important.
I mean, Manjir, how do you see, again, prayer from your scientific theories?
Well, you know, we know from quantum physics, as I said earlier, that everything is consciousness at a deep level, that everything we see around us is made up of thought. Also from quantum physics, we know that particles are connected no matter the distance. And this is what Einstein didn't like at all, called spooky at a distance. You know, he didn't like this concept. But we've done experiments and time again.
Why didn't he like it? Or?
Because what it did was, if you have a particle, say here, and a particle at the other end of the universe, you can pair these particles so that they communicate instantaneously.
Right.
And what Einstein didn't like about it was that it violated his law that said that the speed of light is the speed limit of the universe, because communication would be happening then faster than the speed of light.
I see.
Yeah, so prayer totally fits in with this picture, because prayer is basically, to put it in a scientific term, it's an intention. It's a distant intention. So if we are all consciousness and we shift our consciousness to focus on something, be it here or the other side of the universe, or Mars or wherever we want, you know, then because we are all one, you know, and we are all one consciousness, it can reach there, you know. So that's a mechanism that provided by quantum physics of distant intention or prayer. And we have lots of studies, lots of double-blind controlled trials, which actually demonstrate that prayer works in healing. You know, it's been you know, studies are done just like a drug company would do it. You know, they take two groups of patients, groups of prayers of all denominations, and you know, people get randomly assigned to the group prayed for and the group not prayed for. And what's interesting is that so the patients don't know, the doctors don't know on the ward who's being prayed for, who's not being prayed for. And what's interesting is that you know, you get statistically significant results in the healing of those people. It actually works retrospectively as well. If you pray for people and they've actually been discharged from hospital, and then you look up who was in the groups that have been randomly assigned, you actually find that even though they've been discharged, the people that have been prayed for and this time of the future, we're talking about the past, had actually left hospital before the ones that hadn't been prayed for. So there's lots of studies out there. They're in proper peer-reviewed journals. And we not only have the studies, we also have the mechanism now from quantum physics.
Well, let's just hold your book up to the camera so that people can see your book, because this looks like it's a great sort of bright cover as well. No, it's
people
great.
Get their shades out now.
It's very eye-catching. So that's Punk Science Inside the Mind of God.
Yes.
I mean, even the title is very intriguing, and I hope we can see that for the audience. And then we're going to also look at Diana's book. This is your latest book, Diana.
That's my latest book. It's my 14th book.
Angel Answers.
Yes.
Your 14th book. Wow.
Yeah. They're not all about angels, but they're all about spiritual matters, the spiritual laws.
And this is the answers that the angels have given people to...
Yes, and what the angels say, and this ties in with what you've just been saying, Manjir, is that don't complain about what you don't want. Focus on what you do want, and your visualization, your holding of that image starts to create it, and then they can work with your energy, your prayer, or whatever you like to put it as, and they can start making it happen.
So actually that's interesting, because you're not just saying that we're sort of sitting here passively and they're coming, we're actually working with them and helping. We can work with them and help them as well.
Yes,
to
so
help
even
them
if
to
you're
help
ill
us.
in bed, you can be doing something to help the universe. Everybody is powerful.
Yeah, through positive thought and visualization as well. And just I hope we can see, this has got a very shiny cover.
Yeah, it's got a shiny cover,
Science and Health with Key to the Scriptures by Mary Baker Eddy, who's the founder of
Christian Science,
Christian
yes.
Science, right.
Yeah. And Christian Scientists